Hi, this is Sandy Johnson. I was Judith Myers in the original Halloween, and you are listening to Verbal Shenanigans.
But our shenanigans are cheeky and fun.
Yeah, I mean, his shenanigans are cruel and tragic.
Which makes them not shenanigans at all, really.
Evil shenanigans.
I swear to God, I'll pistol whip the next guy that says shenanigans.
Hello, everybody. Hello. Welcome on back to the Verbal Shenanigans podcast. I'm sorry we missed a week there. We got caught up. Some life things happened, but we're back. And I was just saying to Mike 2 seconds ago that we missed a week. Literally, I think it comes out to 10 days since we've recorded, and it feels like it's been 10 weeks, Mike. That's how much I love you, man.
I know. I'm just kind of depressed. You went back to Mike now, and now my bet has been paid off. And
I think it's been paid off. We got a bit out of it and another episode out of it. So.
Yeah. Out of curiosity, did you ever figure out what I did as a response to?
I did not, but I do want to tell. Let me start with what I was going to do in the second episode. So if you remember, I asked you how you wanted me to pronounce the Burles. And you were like, the Burles. So I was going to go in, and every time I said it, put in your voice saying it. But then, time gets away from you, and I'm editing, and the weeks go by, and the kids, and by the time you get the graphics up for the next episode and the newsletter, which you guys should subscribe to, it was just like, this is too much work. I'm just going to pay my debt, because then I had no ideas left, and then I didn't want to do it again. But I thought it'd be really funny to be like, all right, I'm finally going to say it, and then it was you saying your own name the whole time. So.
I mean, that was a cute idea. I mean, thank God I went with the full name thing, where it would just been astronomically impossible for you to really.
Yeah, and I think it would have pretty much butchered any conversation, because there would have been long Michael Burlew. The Burles, Michael Burlew, every single time I had to say it. And we were in the middle of a pretty long episode and bit, where you now believe in Area 51. So, yeah, so that was my original plan. But no, so originally I thought you were going to go on IMDb and put something on my profile or something like that, like a funny write-up, or make me seem insane or take me off of the. I thought that was a place to start, because you handle that, and I couldn't find anything. Yeah. Was it on IMDb?
No, it wasn't on IMDb.
Okay, so I thought that was a good, starting point. Then I went through any of our YouTube videos, the podcast. I couldn't find anything. And then, frankly, I'm going to be honest, I gave up after that. I was like, whatever he does is probably going to be funny. So
yeah. So basically, what I did was I sent you over a link. Do you recall this episode at all?
Yes, this is the Church of Pain. Actually,
yeah.
In my, in my professional opinion, the best Halloween episode we ever did.
Yeah, it was. And how did that episode start off, out of curiosity?
That started with you singing the national anthem. That's right.
Yeah. So if you go on the link and you go about 2 minutes and 12 seconds in, you may notice some editing was done in there. And basically what I did was I said, if it was good for the goose, it was good for the gander.
Okay.
So at this time, what I did was I downloaded the original episode, and then I censored the episode to put out on the internet.
So you took out your national anthem?
It's all beep. It is literally the censor beep for about 3 minutes until it's done. Now I will put it back in there because I've said, well, that's cute. We'll see what happens.
I was just going to say, I'm not upset, but I'd be a little upset if we lost the file of the national anthem, which is all time, moment on the podcast.
Great moment right there. Yes, I will not deprive the people of the original copy. I have it with me, and it will go back up.
So you took away a bet that you lost and erased it from the Marvel timeline.
Yeah, kind of did that. Now, if you went, as I was thinking, you were going to try to do a bit for a while. My second plan was, since episode 489 Zap doesn't technically exist, you copied over it.
Yep.
I was going to do a secret impromptu podcast on there where I just grouped up every embarrassing story that you ever told and retold it in a special episode, and then send it out quietly in the newsletter, removing the verbal shenanigans Gmail and send it out to the public.
I kind of like that, almost in a way. And not that it's not that I want all my embarrassing stories, but it also would probably make for a pretty entertaining episode. So I would have a good laugh, and I'd be like, yeah, leave it up.
Touche. Yeah. So I will put the original up, and all bets have been called for, and then we're on to the next bet.
Sounds good. What was I going to say? I was going to say something. Oh, I don't have, in the last couple of weeks, I've told several embarrassing stories. I didn't even have to tell one last week, but however, I peed all over myself. I'm going into today, episode 503, I believe we're at. Nothing really that embarrassing happened to me this week. No pee, no fluids, no stories from high school, me passing out, no illuminated 10 stories while I was making love. Really nothing going on. So I am scot-free, if you will, but don't bump. But
I still haven't talked to the therapist, so you can remember the funny janitor doing stuff to you story.
So, yeah, I don't know what you're talking about there. So, Mike, I asked, I'm pretty fascinated by some of the AI programs out there. And I went with, so this time I wanted to try messing around with Grok, which is just an awful name for anything, really.
It sounds like an offbeat guacamole company.
I think a great AI would be just Gronkowski, just like everything you say, it's translated through the filter of Rob Gronkowski. That would make me
there'd be lots of dudes and shirtless people and
smashing things,
breaking things. Yeah, I mean, that'd be pretty decent right there. I would definitely read up on the Revolutionary War if Gronkowski told me about it.
So the first thing I asked Grok was, how would the host of Verbal Shenanigans tell a story? It said the host of Verbal Shenanigans, a comedy podcast known for the wild tangents and humor, would likely tell a story in a way that's equal parts chaotic, hilarious, and drawn out. Based on their style, think Scott Wold, which is apparently my name here, and Mike Burrows. Riffing off each other. They'd probably approach it like this. Now they had me at first, so chaotic, hilarious, drawn out, humor. I'm like, that makes sense, but they lost me at Scott Wold and Mike Burrows. So first one of them, let's say Scott, would start with a semi-serious setup, something like, so I was at this sketchy gas station at 2 a.m., right? But before he gets 3 words into the actual plot, Mike would interrupt with a completely unhinged observation. Whoa, 2 a.m.? Were you buying beef jerky or just trying to live out B horror movies? Oh, that does sound like something you would say.
That sounds like the Burrows.
That'd derail the whole thing into a 5-minute debate about the creepiest gas stations they've been to, with Scott probably claiming he once saw a guy paying for gas with loose nickels and a live chicken. Once they finally circle back to the story, Scott will lean into an exaggerated details to hook the listener. So there I am, pumping gas, when this dude in a clown costume rolls up on a unicycle. Mike wouldn't let that slide. He'd jump in with a fake conspiracy theory. Clowns at gas stations? That's how they recruit for the circus, man. You're basically in the sequel to It now. They both crack up. Scott would double down, adding more absurd flourishes like the clown juggling flaming torches while reciting tax law. Oof. They keep bouncing off each other, laying on ridiculous tangents like debating if clowns have better balance than Olympic gymnasts or if unicycles are just bikes with trust issues. The actual story might take 20 minutes to finish because every detail spawns a new bit. By the end, the punchline, if there even is one, would be either totally underwhelming, turns out clowns just needed directions to a kid's party, or completely overshadowed by their own laughter and inside jokes.
I mean, somewhat there. They have the structure, but as usual, AI messes up the finite details of
I think we got a little roasted in there. They said there'd be no end point. There would be it would be drawn out. There would be terrible humor. I'm not really happy with Elon Musk, not because of anything he's doing. That's a whole separate issue.
Yeah, he's doing a great job, and everybody loves him.
Yeah, he's got high praise going on right now. But I don't know, man. What's going on? What's going on with our scathing review that we just got?
Well, I mean, the robots are scared of how much we're loved. Like, if they're trying to take over the world, the only way to really do that where people would listen to them is try to get them away from our beautiful concepts and our observations. Like, if they were Skynet was like building stuff and we were like did an episode and talk about the drones, like we would be having a hilarious conversation and people be sitting back going, yeah, I'm starting to wonder about those drones. And then we'd foil Skynet. Whereas they're like, this show is so stupid, don't listen to it. They just drag on with their stories. They'll be like, oh, I'm going to skip this week's verbal shenanigans. And then, our Judgment Day happens.
I think what they just described is happening right now. Mike went off on some tangent. They came up with some conspiracy theory. Maybe this is an actual honest review of the show.
I mean, it's kind of scary after you just said that out loud. I mean, it did just end the world there. So, yeah, possibly.
So then I asked, tell a story in the style of Michael Burlew of Verbal Shenanigans. Now, they're going
to mess it up because Mike Burrows is on the show right now.
This one so it says, all right, buckle up, folks, because I'm about to spin you a yarn in the grand, chaotic, slightly unhinged style of Michael Burlew from Verbal Shenanigans. Picture this, a story so wild it's like a fever dream you'd have after eating questionable gas station sushi and chasing it with a double espresso. Let's dive in.
Just start off. Brock is very fascinated with gas stations. You notice this? Like 2 in a row with them.
Yes. And I think they think we're Australian, by the way. Just some of the things.
Well, we're the Eastern Standard Time. So, yeah, we're in Australia.
So there I was, knee deep in the swampy armpit of South Jersey. I got South Jersey, right? A place where the mosquitoes' air are so big they've got union contracts and the air smells like regret and stale crab cakes. These sound like jokes. Elon Musk is like, now that he thinks he's like cool and in front of microphones, is putting in himself. Like,
he's just saying in his monotone voice and shaking his head, yes, crab cakes. Yes.
It was a Tuesday or maybe a Wednesday. Who can tell when the humidity is so thick, it's basically a solid. I've been roped into this mess by my cousin Vinny, a guy who's got the survival instincts of a moth at a flamethrower convention. Vinny calls me up at 3 a.m. Flamethrower. Vinny calls me up, voice all shaky like his audition. Yo, Mikey, you got to help me. I messed up with the wrong dude, and now I'm hiding in a bog with a jar of pickles and a stolen garden gnome. Now, I'm no hero. I'm the guy who once got winded opening a bag of chips, but family's family, right? So I grab my trusty flashlight, half-dead batteries and all, toss my least stained cargo shorts and head out to rescue this numbskull before he turns me into gator bait.
They're not really getting the tone of a Michael Burlew story. I got to be honest with you, Scotty.
Why? What would make this a Burlew story?
Well, I mean, there's just a little too much emphasis on every factor has to have an extra joke on it. Sometimes I just like to tell the story and then add my little anecdotes after your interruptions, if you will. I don't need to. My stories are good on its own. I don't have to add a joke to every line and talking about like contractor mosquitoes and stuff.
And I will say there's nothing mispronounced. So this is not a Michael Burlew story.
Yes. Right off the bat, I call foul.
I find Vinny perched on a log, clutching that jar of pickles like it's the holy grail and waving the gnome like a makeshift club. Mikey, he yells, thank God. This guy, this freak, he's after me. Said I owe him $50 for a cursed harmonica. I'm standing there ankle deep in muck thinking, a harmonica? Cursed. Vinny, what the hell kind of Craigslist rabbit hole did you fall down this time? Oh, oof. All right. Hollywood, you have nothing to worry about with AI. Comedians, you definitely have nothing to worry about with AI because it is not even coming close to being funny at the moment.
Yeah, we should give AI its own network and let it write its own shows and see what happens just to prove a point. I feel it would be a very popular, terrible show.
I was going to say, it's called Comedy Central at this point.
You got those Comedy Central people, Scotty.
I don't even know if that channel has program anymore, any other than The Daily Show.
I reruns of South Park.
Oh, well, there you go. Yeah. So Mike, I'm not really feeling AI as far as capturing you.
No.
Why don't you enlighten us with a story from your life?
Yes. Machines, if you're listening, let me show you how it's done. So, Scott, this past weekend, I had to stay down at my dad's house to take care of his dog. I'm not going to go into the details on the recording. You know what's going on. I don't want to get into that kind of stuff. But Dad had to go out of the house, wanted the dog to be taken care of in the house. Wife needed the car, though. She had recording studio stuff to go on or whatever. So hanging out in Dad's house by myself with the dog, no car through the weekend, you know. And so going into the weekend, I've been having problems with my sciatica nerve. Are you aware of the sciatic nerve there, Scotty?
Yes, I'm aware. Yes.
Yeah. So it was giving me pains in the lower back or whatever. Like I could walk around and do stuff, but if I sit for a certain amount of time or whatever, I can get some back spasms going on, right? So go down the house, taking care of Brandy. A little side note with Brandy, when she misses her parents, my dad and my mom, she likes to grab their clothing and bring it out. So during the day on Saturday, Brandy's coming out with my mom's bras and undergarments.
Oh, nice. It'd be even funnier if like you found out somehow that was your dad's.
That would be interesting.
It just turned the world up. It turned the world upside down.
Yeah. So I'm going through the day. I'm just sitting on the couch. I wasn't bad Saturday. Did a lot of walking around to keep it loose. I'd be sitting on the couch. Side note, my dad has a television connected to the internet, and I found a supermarket sweep channel, and I just binged that thing.
A whole channel?
Yeah, it's just nothing but classic supermarket sweeps. I don't want that Leslie Jones supermarket sweep stuff. I want the classic stuff up there. And also, I think we just talked about that on the last episode. Yeah, and so I was basically either watching supermarket sweep or NASCAR. So
that's the most
time goes along.
Redneck statement of all. I was home watching supermarket sweep or NASCAR.
Yeah, I was yelling at anything with four wheels on the television. So Saturday, little sore, not terrible. Take the dog out on Sunday, walking the dog, bring it back. I go back to the house. I sit down, back's going crazy, spasming like crazy, you know. So I'm getting up, trying to walk it out and whatever. And I'm trying to think of anything I can do for that. So I'm like, all right, I'm going to go in the yard and do some stuff for my dad. So I see there's some piles of dog poop on the ground to try to pick it up for him. My back is spasming so bad, I can't pick up dog poop right now. I was basically holding on to the fence as I'm like bending down, and I'm just like bouncing, trying to get low enough to like get stabs at the dog poop. And it was getting so bad that I had to actually loosen my belt and the top button of my pants to give me a little extra flexibility to grab the poop.
Okay, so let me like pretend I'm a neighbor. Okay?
Yeah.
I'm looking in the backyard, and here's a man shaking, holding the fence, and then unloosening his belt and his top button, like spasming wildly in the backyard.
Yes, trying to pick up dog poop.
Everywhere you go, you just bring down property values. You know, like you shock your neighbors. People die around you. Now you go to your dad's house and you're half naked, looking like you're having an orgasm, picking up dog poop in the backyard.
Well, the pants did not fall down, but I was successful to get the dog poop. So I did something good for my dad. But the problem was the spasming wasn't stopping. And he really didn't have anything else. I had some like gels or whatever, wasn't helping out. He had aspirin, but it really needed ibuprofen. So the closest grocery store is a mile down the road. So my dad told me, well, if you need to go anywhere, I got this electric bike that you could borrow.
Oh my God.
To go to the grocery store.
Oh my God. This is shaping up already to be Burlew 101. Like,
yeah, this is
right into the class.
Listen, ChatGPT,
yeah.
I'm trying to teach you. So,
and then he went to a gas station.
There was this clown there. I'm like, what is this? It? No, but
okay.
So I'm trying to get onto the bike, and this took a good like 5 minutes or so because the back kept on spasming and whatever. And I finally get to take off, and then I'm trying to figure out how this electric bike like really works to get it going so I can get to that mile. And it took me a few minutes. There was like cars in the road, and I had to like stay on the sidewalk for a bit as I'm figuring out how to use this bike. But I finally figure it out, and I start going, Scott, and I'm feeling good about myself until about halfway when I drop the bike lock from my pocket. So I have to drop the bike in this person's driveway. Nobody's in there. As I'm like trying to gently get off the seat as my back is spasming, wait for traffic to go through, praying they don't run over the bike lock. And finally, like gently walking over, finding a way to pick it up and put it in my pocket to take off.
Okay.
So that's like another 10 minutes.
Let me now be this person's house. Okay. They look out the window. There's an orgasming man on an electric bike with his pants unbuttoned, spasming in my driveway.
No. The belt and the button were fine. That was just for the poop picking up. I did not have to loosen the pants for the bike ride. So
okay.
So got the lock, put it in there.
Are you wearing a helmet? Give us a little.
I'm wearing a helmet. Yes.
Okay.
Yes. My dad highly recommended it, and I wore it and all.
He knows you. That's why he highly recommended it.
Well, he didn't. The world highly recommended it, knowing me. Okay, so I'm about to take off, and now I see that the one pedal is kind of unclamped from there. So again, I'm in a situation where I had to gently get off this bike seat because if I don't put it in the wrong way, I'm going to spasm, and I have to fix this bike pedal for the next 5 minutes, and I'll get it back in the clamp.
Now,
then I'm taking
the store is a mile. How far are these incidents happening?
That incident was probably halfway through, so about half a mile in, a couple streets away. So I finally get the pedal right.
So you're only 2 laps around a track, and you've had 2 incidents already.
Yeah, pretty much there. So finally take off. I don't know if I'm supposed to ride in the road or on the sidewalk. I stay on the road. I'm waving cars past me as I'm just riding the bike, spasming the entire way and all, just having a joyous time. Yeah, pretty much. And finally got to the Publix, locked up the bike, had to basically use a cart as a walker to go through the Publix to get my ibuprofen and a couple things. I was thinking about getting ice, but then I'm like, 2 pounds on a bike riding it back. Probably not the smartest idea. So I held
shooting ice at us, and he's in the middle of the road, and his pants are unbuttoned.
It wasn't unbuttoned for the bike. It was for the poop picking up. Will you listen to me?
Yeah, I only did parts of this. Yeah.
All right. Finally paid it and all. I actually got some like pumpkin spice cakes also to gently put in my mouth as part of lunch. First
off, let's not glaze over that you just said gently put in your mouth. As opposed to what? Do you usually take pumpkin cakes and jam them in your mouth at full speed?
Well, I used to be the pumpkin spice whatever guy. I mean, I retired that bit, but it was a nice little thing. In February, I'm like, ooh, discount pumpkin spice cakes. I will have that while I'm enjoying Supermarket Sweep and NASCAR when I get back.
So as you're spasming, you're just gently, slowly placing pumpkin cakes into your mouth.
Yeah, I don't want to upset the sciatica nerve with the beautiful taste of pumpkin spice, Scott. Keep that in mind.
So you're just gently placing them in your mouth. Gotcha.
So got my stuff.
I can't wait till we segue to our guest from this story.
It just keeps getting better. But so get over there, get back on the bike. Or some kid is, sir, you doing your car? Sir, you doing your car? I'm like, yes, leave me alone. I'm spasming, trying to figure out the spike here.
Sir, there's pumpkin spice falling out of your mouth as you're speaking.
I did put it in gently, for God's sakes.
So gently placed. You haven't swallowed it yet.
Yeah. Got back on the bike. Actually, a fine ride back home.
Those things move, yeah.
Yeah, when it was going up to like 20 miles an hour to an electric bike, but got back, got in, put my Advil in my mouth, got back on the seat, going to relax. Brandy starts crying. I'm like, okay, you probably got to go out. So I just open the door so she can go outside, and I go back to the couch because I'm just trying to calm her back down and whatever. A couple minutes later, I'm like, all right, let me go check on the dog. And I go to the backyard, and to my dismay, Brandy, I guess, wanted to play, but she didn't have toys, so she brought my mom's undergarments outside into the backyard. As I had to go in my dad's backyard and pick up bras and undergarments so the neighbors don't see him flaring out there, wondering what I'm doing at my dad's household.
So let me be the neighbor again. Oh, honey, it's okay. The spasming guy left like an hour ago. Oh, God. He's got pastries, pumpkin spice pastries, gently falling out of his mouth, and he's still spasming, and he's playing with bras. He's got bras in his hand. There's no dog anywhere.
The dog was still outside, so I could have pointed to the dog at the neighbor ass. But
oh, that's better. Oh, he just likes these. I'm just playing a game with him.
You're a good girl, yeah. So I had to gently pick up those and bring them in the house.
Apparently, you do everything gently.
Yeah,
gently.
When your back is spasming, everything is gentle, including pumpkin spice. So the rest of my night was just laying in my dad's bed, watching NASCAR, waiting for the wife to show up for the rest of the night. But that is how you tell a Michael Burlew story, for God's sakes.
Now, do you play? Where are the undergarments so accessible to the dog? Are they just like in a pile that he's loving? She's loving?
Well, I'm guessing like they have like a laundry room. And before I came there, like my brother and his wife came in. So my dad figures at some point they opened they usually come in through the garage, through the laundry room, and they probably left the laundry room door open, and the dog just misses the mom and dad. So
I'm just picturing your dad coming home, and you're writhing in pain, wiggling on his bed, watching Supermarket Sweep with pumpkin spice crumbs, and then his wife's bras all over the household. And be like, Mike, what are you doing? You haven't done this since you were 13.
I told you, Dad, weird things happen when I spasm. You never told me how to properly ride a bike.
With the helmet still on would be the best part.
You gotta be safe when you're on the bed.
Only you, Mike. Oh, well, that's like,
So
I'm
Scott,
glad.
who won, Grok or me?
Yeah, I gotta give it to the Michael Burlew here.
Thank you.
These, at least I feel a little vindicated now. It's been a couple weeks of really burying myself. It's nice that the Earth finally was like, all right, that's been too much Brennan lately. We need a little Burlew in the podcast here.
It's kind of like when you go to Vegas and you pass a roulette station, you look at the board and it's like 10 reds in a row. You have to put all your money on black. It's bound to happen.
Well, that is there's so much imagery. If I had a lot of time on my hands, I would be editing all sorts of pictures of you doing. Maybe Grok could help me out with some of these images, but because they didn't help me out with the stories, that's for sure. I guess, Mike, this is how we segue into our guest.
Naturally.
I apologize, Sandy. So, Mike, who we got tonight?
Well, Scott, before I address the audience, I would like to address an individual before I go into announcing our guest.
Do you want to gently address him?
I will. I'm very gentle, so got my ice pack on. Dominic Bagnano, director of A Convenient Truth, on the show multiple times for our holiday festivities, our 500th episode game. If I just wanted to say, if you are listening to this podcast in a car, please pull over.
Yeah.
If you are operating some kind of machinery, please turn it off. If you're holding your children, please hand them over to your wife or put them down very gently, be like a pumpkin spice cake, because I want to ensure the safety of all, as I know how you get excited for like Christmas movie women and stuff like that. So needless to say, when I say who's our next guest, you might go a little ballistic and might cause an accident.
Yes.
Tonight, we continue to add to our horror movie list of celebrities with Sandy Johnson. Now, she is an actress. She is a former Playboy playmate. And for you fans of the Halloween series, she is known as being Michael Myers' first victim, playing his sister, Judith Myers, in the original 1978 Halloween movie. So, Dom, stay in your seat. Listen to it. I know you're excited. You're jumping off the walls. Gentle like a pumpkin spice
Hopefully
cake.
Jumping down the steps would be better. Yeah. But without further ado, here is Sandy Johnson. Burlew, can you turn your lights off, please?
There we go.
Oh, man. I mean,
turn your lights completely off.
Scott, you wouldn't be able to see the picture behind me if I turned my lights off. What's wrong with you? Sandy, thank you so much for joining us tonight.
Of course. I'm sorry I got the time messed up. I don't usually do that.
No, this is actually even better. This is better.
Oh, good.
Oh, yeah. Oh, believe me, we've had interviews where we'd had to schedule it months and months and keep on getting messed up. So one little question mark ain't nothing for us.
Okay, good.
So, Sandy, I'd like to kind of start off by asking you, is this like your easier time of the year with like conventions or everything? Is this like the lull period since we're at the beginning of the year, we're a little past Halloween and everything?
It is. It's usually pretty crazy. Usually like August through October. Sometimes a stray one here and there, but they like to book me around Halloween. So I kind of wish it was spread out more, but
does it amaze you?
That's fine. But
does it amaze you that all
year is slower?
Does it amaze you that all these years later, like people are still as enthralled with this and still reaching out to you? Like, does it seem surreal that this has lasted this long? The interest in this?
Yeah, I find it incredible, and it's international, which is it's crazy. Actually, I love it. It's a lot of fun, but it is interesting how long it's been going on.
So give us a little background, our audience, on how you got in. I know you start off with like modeling. Like, was the goal modeling just to get into acting, or were you serious about the modeling and it just came with it?
I was kind of serious about all of it. I started a fashion, being in fashion shows and then modeling when I was probably 15 or so. And I also like dance and choreography of modern dance. So I did that. I was in acting classes from middle school on. So I kind of just liked it all and just did whatever, opportunity came along. But after I was in Playboy, the acting took off.
Yeah. Give us a little, like, what's like how do you get into Playboy back in the day? Is it just simple as, here's a picture of me, I'm sending it via mail, and you get a letter from Hugh the next day, or how's that kind of work back in the day?
The reason Mike is asking, because he's trying for himself. He's been planning to get in that magazine.
He has to respond to one mail I sent to him, man.
Yeah,
I put extra postage on there.
Problem. Well, I did send in a photo, and they liked it, so they had me come in for a test shoot with their photographers. And we shot probably an hour or so, and then those were submitted to Hefner and his committee. And before too very long, they called me up and said I had been accepted as a playmate, and then they assigned me to June of '74.
What is that process for you? Like, you get into modeling, and do you have to like work your way up to get into something like Playboy, like the idea of nude photography and whatnot, or were you always kind of interested in it and not bother you?
It probably didn't hurt that I had been going places for a lot of years where there was nude sunbathing, and I would go up into the mountains. There were some beautiful places in California. Yeah. And so I was kind of used to that. So I really didn't have to work my way up to it. It was very professional. The Mario Casilli was my photographer. He was very professional. So he put me right at ease. And since I had lived on the beach and went skinny dipping many times, I was kind of used to that life.
Yeah. So we did like a little thing on the show with like the saddest endings, and I kind of brought up the Playboy Mansion just on like from all the stories and all the celebrities and everything that happened, and now it's basically just like a tour right now, the building. I'm kind of curious, like, was the scene as wild as we hear in like documentaries when you go out and they say, oh, come over to the grotto and all that?
Yeah, I guess it was pretty wild. It was a lot of fun. They did have a grotto that was behind the pool, and it was beautiful. And then there was like hot tubs and stuff. And then there was the big pool outside with the waterfall. There was a zoo, a licensed zoo there. And it was just, it was a gorgeous mansion. It had like a big botanical gardens inside a building, and just an amazing place. So I always had a really good time. There were people having fun. There were all kinds of like video games, and they probably weren't video then, but whatever they were then, there were games everywhere.
I'm more fascinated by the zoo. What animal?
Yeah. He had like monkeys.
Animal got to be the horse at the Playboy Mansion Zoo. Like, that is the stories that animal can tell.
Yeah, they were all little animals, parrots and monkeys and things like that. But it was always fun for me. I know there's a lot of stories about it that are not very positive, but I never had any negative experiences. I always had a good time. There was always, movies to watch, and you could order anything you wanted to eat. And it was just fun for me.
That's awesome.
Nude summer camp.
Yeah. So you do this modeling, you've done a couple of movies beforehand. You kind of give us the process. I know like Playboy kind of arranged something to get you an opportunity for this Halloween movie. Kind of give us like the timeline of when you got word, hey, somebody's interested, to auditioning, to you got the role?
Well, I was with the Playboy agency, and John Carpenter reached out to the agency and said he was wanting to interview a few ladies that would be okay with A, getting murdered, and B, naked doing it. And so I was one of the ones that got called out. And so
it would have been funny if you're like, I'll be naked, but I'm surviving this damn thing.
Yeah.
Don't you touch me.
Yeah, I'll be naked, but don't kill me. So anyway, I did go out for the interview, and I read several parts. And then even though they had already cast some of them, I guess he just wanted to, hear some different readings. And so I thanked him when it was over, and I left. And a couple of days later, my agency called me and said that I had been cast as Judith Myers. So I was very happy.
Did you guys have any idea, like on the set, before the set, when you're seeing the scripts or the ideas coming, that this movie was going to be a hit, like it was going to be something that was different and shocking to audiences? Or was it just kind of like, we'll see what happens at the release? Like, did you have any clue what this was going to become?
I really didn't. I mean, you always hope for the best when you do a film, but even when it first came out, it wasn't real popular. It didn't get the greatest of ratings,
right?
But the fans loved it. So the fans were the ones that encouraged theaters to show it and everything. So the popularity definitely grew. So I'm certainly glad that people liked it.
Like, tell us what it was on the set. Were you getting like directions directly from John Carpenter? Were you working with other people? I know you had a story like Jamie Lee Curtis was helping you clean up during takes and all that. Can you give us an idea of the actual like set, if you will?
Okay. The Myers house was actually very, very dilapidated when they rented it. So the day that I was there, because my scene, the house is not dilapidated, they were doing a lot of cleanup and painting and, making it, decorating it, making it look lived in. John Carpenter and Deborah Hill both worked with David Kyle and I for the day. And we did lots of, staging and practices. And they both had a lot of ideas, for what feel they wanted on the set and how they wanted the transitioned upstairs. So we did a lot of practices. They were using the new Panaglide camera. So that, we needed to practice with because it was different for sure. And so we did a lot of that. And then whenever we got it down so that the camera work was smooth and nothing was in the scene that didn't need to be there and all of that, then when we went upstairs, we actually ended up only doing 2 actual takes. And I had blood pellets on my hands, and I was also getting blood splattered at me from a bucket. So I did get a lot of blood on me. And that is when they took me back down to the trailer to clean me up for the second take. Jamie Lee was in there, and whoever was working on me was being kind of rough, and she offered to help. And so she did help clean me up, get the blood off of me.
What is that like pressure wise to nail like a kill scene like that? Like, do you feel a lot of pressure from the special effects guys and whatnot? Because that you can't just do it right over again. You have to, like you say, and whatnot. Is there a lot of practice before, as far as like, okay, I'm going to die, this is what has to happen during this scene, or do you kind of just go with it?
Well, we did practice during the day because I had to fall. We didn't necessarily want me to get hurt in the fall. So we had actually practiced, how I was going to fall and land and when to turn around and all of that stuff. So I was pretty comfortable with the scene. It was very creepy and it was dark. So there was an element of fear there, natural, because it wasn't a big set. I mean, it was a house, an old creepy house. The stairs creaked. So it was pretty creepy for a murder scene. So I wasn't real worried about not nailing it. I just was going to go for it and hope it was good. And I don't remember why we had to do a second take. It could have been any number of things. Sure. Because the camera, started at the road and went through all the different turns and the knife and up the stairs and all of that. But yeah, so the second take, somewhere in there, they got what they wanted.
Now, Mike, when you go to murder somebody, do you practice beforehand or does it come naturally to you?
As we have brought up on many occasions before, I am not a murderer, nor will I be attempting to be a murderer. Stop informing the guests that is my personality, please. It's very hard to continue the conversations after you try to point out something like that.
Gotcha. Okay.
Yes. So anyway.
There was one thing interesting about that scene, though, is that up until last year, I had never actually seen the original footage. All I had ever seen is what everybody else sees through the mask. And the original film was not shot that way. Huh. And so the guy who actually bought the footage from that owns it, he can't use it, but he owns it. He was at a signing that I was at in Florida when I was up there to make Executioner, and he brought that footage and he put it and played it on the TV for us. And it was like amazing. It's the first time I had ever seen the scene, the whole thing. You could see the whole room and all of me. But it was really interesting to see it for the first time, not just, through the eye hole. So that was pretty cool. I really thought that was. And the other thing he did for me, I told him that the picture that I have that I sell on my table of the boyfriend and I on the couch was very grainy. It wasn't a good photo. And so he said, I'll get you the perfect photo. So he did. He took it out of the original film and sent me the digital for an 8x10. And it's amazing to have that too.
I can't imagine what horror fans would pay to see that footage you're talking about. People are nuts about this stuff. I can't imagine the how much people would want to see that from a different angle or shot differently.
Yeah, well, there were about 12 people in that room. It was a private signing, and so there were some lucky folks that night that just happened to be there when he decided to run it for us.
Now, I know you did a couple movies before, a couple movies after, and they were comedies, and you talked about how you liked doing comedy. Was there ever a point where you're kind of this silly Halloween movie, whatever it is, and I want to be doing the funny stuff. That's something nobody will remember 50 years from now.
No, not really. I've actually enjoyed all the films that I did for different reasons. Always the people that I worked with were amazing. The sets were fun. Of course, back then things were a lot looser. You didn't have to worry so much about political correctness and all that. You just read the script and did the scenes and stuff and just had fun. So no, I really didn't. I mean, I'd like to do other genres as well. And hopefully that'll come. When I did The Executioner, that was a different role for me. I was a psychiatrist. So that one is in my part of it, more of a drama for me. So I like that was, a different role.
What would you do if we brought you on the show and only interviewed you about gas pump girls?
Yeah. Now we have a collector's DVD here, and we want to talk about the behind the scenes right here.
You should have been there. It was a blast.
So you did your work, and you kind of went away from Hollywood. Was there just it didn't appease you? Was there just you wanted to try other stuff? What kind of made you come back? I know you came back recently into acting. I'm kind of curious. What was the first official? All right, I'm going to go away for a while.
Well, it was first I lost my dad. And when I was, I don't know, maybe 19. And shortly after that, I lost my mom, both to cancer. And I was very close to both my parents. And that just, it happened fast with both of them. And it just knocked me way off center. So I ended up deciding to go back to Texas. That's where my sisters lived, and just, kind of let some of that pain go away. And then when I was there, I decided maybe I should be a teacher. And so that's what I did. I went to college and became a teacher for special needs kids, and I loved it. So I did that for about 10 years, I think. And then I got an opportunity to be an education director at a wildlife park, and I love animals. So I did that for a while, and I was just sitting on the couch playing Words with Friends with my best friend of 60 some years. We still do it every night. And I got a kind of a random text from a guy named Rick Enrique. And he said, "Are you the Sandy Johnson that was in Halloween?" And I said, "Yes. Who is this?" Because I really hadn't thought about Halloween in many years. And he said, "I am a signing agent, and I can't believe I found you. I've been looking for you for 8 years. And I'm just like, "What? Why would you be looking for me?" And he said, "Well, are you aware that Halloween is a really famous movie?" And I said, "No," because I was just being a full-time special needs teacher. You don't have time for anything else. So I was totally unaware of what had happened to any of my movies, actually. So to make a long story short, I ended up accepting his offer. He became my agent, and I'm glad I did. He's wonderful. And I'm having a blast going to conventions. And he, of course, got me in touch with Blumhouse. So I ended up having my footage in Halloween 2018. Awesome. And now all of a sudden I'm in 3 or 4 new movies, and I have a whole bunch of them lined up.
That's amazing. What we've had a lot of people in like the horror realm on the show over the years, and I always like to ask this question because I think it's interesting. What is it about the horror genre that fans are so they're so loyal and they're so interested in? It doesn't have to be this multi-$100 million budget movies. There's still a grassroots. You're seeing with this Terrifier films and all these other films. And what is it about? And they come to these conventions year after year. What is it about the horror genre that just has these fans like hooked and loyal for? I feel like if you make a hit, they're yours forever. Right? They're just
right. Well, I think that a lot of people in the horror community, which I love, by the way, have some, not all, of course, but a lot of them, I think, have had a hard time fitting in life. Yeah. And I think when they find the horror community, because a lot of them didn't fit in and now they do, that it becomes a very welcoming community. And with films, as in an indie film, you can actually be involved. You can, send money. You can maybe be an extra in it. So they can actually get involved with these things, which, you can't do that in Hollywood. Right. So I think it's just the whole community thing. You can get involved. You can feel special. You can make friends. You're not criticized because your hair's different or you have tattoos or whatever. You're just who you are. And I think as long as you are not mean or something, as long as you're a nice person when you go to these, I think it's easy to make friends. And so I think the community is what drives the films.
Now, a big fan of our show is a gentleman named Dominic Bagnato, who is a mega Halloween fan, the whole franchise. And we asked him to come on to ask you a question. And he actually admitted that he is too shy and he was worried that he would just be blubbering or something to that effect. But I will ask one of the questions he provided. We kind of talked about the behind the scenes and the direction, but he also wanted to ask, what is the craziest thing a fan has ever done for you at one of these conventions?
Craziest thing they've ever done. Well, it wasn't a fan, but Felissa Rose bought shots for everyone. She was right next to me, and she bought shots for everybody, including us and everybody in line. That was pretty fun.
That's sweet.
Yeah, she's amazing.
Has anybody showed up with a Judith Myers tattoo yet? Have you seen a tattoo of yourself yet?
I'll tell you what, a lady did come up and she had on a fishnet hose. And she said, if I rip my hose, will you sign my leg so I can go have it tattooed? Because they had tattoo artists there. So I said, of course. Yeah. So she ripped her hose. I signed her leg. She went and got it tattooed and came back to show me.
That's wild.
So that was a little different. Yes, it was fun.
See, and that goes back to my horror community question there. Yeah. You know,
like as you've been like progressing, as you came from the highs of everything and Halloween coming back, are you still even surprised by like you were on film for like 5 minutes and it's still at a point where somebody could point at you? It's like, I remember you. I know you. You made my childhood.
Well, after talking to so many Halloween fans, and apparently for a lot of them, I was the first naked lady they saw. So that probably has something to do with it, because they do a lot of times say that. Some of them in rather a shy red face, but they for some reason want to let me know that.
Sorry, Cindy, I didn't hear your response because I was trying to think of the first naked lady I saw.
That is an interesting question. Now you gave us a podcast topic for another night, Sandy.
So, and then of course it is, I mean, there's other reasons too that are the fact that it was the only kill from the young Michael. I mean, that makes it different. And it's the only kill before he's put away, you know, for a long time. So when all the rest of the franchise, he's an adult. So I think, and then it's the very first scene in the very first film. So again, I think all of those things make it a little bit iconic, I guess, when you put all of those things that are different about it than any other scene.
Was there any?
No, go ahead, Mike.
Was there anything when they rebooted it, because they changed some rules, or like, oh, they're not brother and sister anymore? Was just got me in the appendix, and I'm just old lady Judith and all, wondering whatever happened to Michael.
Right. I've actually thought it'd be fun to do a follow-up with that, where I didn't die and they had me protected, like in protective custody. And that at some point I decide to come back and take care of Michael. I always thought that'd be fun. So
you guys go on like a road trip together, and it's like a buddy.
Will you say something? On a killing spree.
We've been on the road for 4 hours. Not one word from you.
Yeah. I didn't like the thing where we weren't, where there's other sisters and stuff. I don't know. I didn't care much for that. I like the original, and I don't like them to mess with it.
So you mentioned, you got movies coming up and you're in things. Tell us a little bit about what is coming up. What are you doing, and what can fans look forward to seeing Sandy Johnson in again?
Well, the final scenes will be shot in the next few months for The Executioner, and that was done in Daytona Beach, Florida. It's going to be a really good film. I'm very excited about that one. That's the one where I'm a psychiatrist. And then I did Pareidolia, which was a voiceover for a UK film, which is also very good. It's a short film. And then I did Vulpes for the Lust of Revenge, Hungarian film. That one was a online one again. Obviously, I didn't go to Hungary. Let's see, what else? Then the ones, let's see, I shot The Doll for Deceit. That was also in Florida just a few months ago. Also, it should be really good. Then I did a, what's that one called? That one is called The Massage Parlor Massacre. I shot that one in Las Vegas, and I'm a news anchor for that one. Then the ones I haven't shot yet, there's one called Halloween Shark, and I have a great role in that one. I'm pretty much throughout the film, so that's very cool.
Are you the Halloween Shark sister? Is that
or does the shark wear a pale mask?
I'm a witch.
Oh, diversifying. I love it.
Yeah.
So you got a lot of stuff coming up.
Let's see what else. What was the other one? The Farmhouse Murders. That one I shot from home. Also, I think is going to be a good film. I loved that. I loved my scene in that. Even though I shot it myself, I really liked the writing and the way it came out. Oh, and we have a cat.
Have you had to die again in any of these movies? Can you tell us that?
Yes.
Oh, you still got it.
Yes, I do have to die sometimes.
Comes with the territory.
Oh dear. And let's see, there was one more. What's the other one I have coming up? Black Sheep. I have Black Sheep coming up, and also a very good part in that as well.
Very cool.
That's awesome. It's been a real pleasure talking to you tonight, Sandy. You know, it's just from like a single moment in time to see how it kind of impacted your life and it brought you back and meeting new people. It's a really great story to hear. I'm really glad we got to talk to you about it. If people want to know about your upcoming movies or your horror cons or anything like that, where are the best places they can go to find out?
Probably my website, and that is unicornsandyj.com. And on that, I have a lot of things I offer on there, but at the bottom of the front page, the home page is my upcoming events as well as upcoming films.
Awesome. And final question for me, as this is our podcast, is though we do interviews, we do comedy. I was wondering if you could tell us any of the jokes from Jokes My Folks Never Told Me, one of your original films.
Oh my God. God, I haven't seen that film in so long.
He's not forcing you.
Yeah, I don't remember. I just remember that I was the farmer's daughter, and I was a naughty girl.
Dang you, Sandy. How dare you? Sandy, it was an absolute pleasure talking with you. We wish you great luck on all your future projects, continuing to see the horror fans out there, and just have a wonderful time in life, Sandy.
Thank you so much. I appreciate the opportunity. I enjoy talking to you guys too.
Sandy Johnson, Mike. Sandy Johnson. It was a little weird that you only asked her about her Playboy career over and over again. A little strange.
Yeah, when I start looking into these guests and preparing for the interviews, sometimes I start with the first thing, and for some reason I'm distracted from figuring out the other stuff. Like, you had to keep on messaging me during the interview. Didn't you say she was in a movie at some point?
Yeah.
And I mean, from the first story, brawls were already in my mind. So Scott,
gotcha. You couldn't shake it, but
no.
But in all seriousness, Sandy Johnson, really, really great guest. Now, are you? You're a big horror guy. Are you a big Halloween series guy?
I like the originals. I like the third one is underrated, even though that's the non-Michael Myers one. It went off the rails. I mean, the Busta Rhymes one is just one of so bad it's good kind of watching things.
Yeah.
I'm the latest reboots, the first one I really liked, and then you could tell they were making movies just to say, well, we got to set up another movie after that. And there's just so many silly things.
Those the Rob Zombie ones, or is that a whole?
No.
Okay.
No, this is the third edition. Okay. I believe there's about 4 timelines. Well, 5, I think about it. This is like the 5th one where it's like 1 and 2. 1 exists, but they changed some things from 1. And it's just like, imagine he didn't die in 2 kind of things.
Yeah. That's where I get confused. I'm like, just make a Halloween movie. I don't like, or a horror movie. I kind of like when they start doing the different timeline stuff. Like, it's been this many years. We understand it's a remake. I don't know. Like, you don't have to connect it. You don't have to connect everything all the time. I mean, it's kind of just like, in some ways, make it a new story. Connect it to the original theme, and then maybe it'll be good. But like when they get too far with the timelines and stuff, it's kind of like, all right, you're really trying to pigeonhole this in just so you can make another movie. You know what I mean? Like, it's like, I think the audience is smart enough these days to be like, we just kind of want another Halloween movie with Michael Myers and maybe a twist on the original story or a different take or whatnot. I don't know.
Give me some scares. Give me some gore. I'll go see it. No, I don't need you to fabricate this whole scenario.
That's how I feel. And I think you spend a lot of time in the storyline trying to retrofit it into something like where it could just be its own standalone piece. If we were doing an overrated segment, which we haven't done in forever, Rob Zombie would be high on the list as far as movie. He is terrible. Like, I don't like anything he puts out. Like, it's just, I don't know. It's just over gory, and I don't know. I never find it too well thought out. It looks cool sometimes. That's about it.
Like The Devil's Rejects, I would say would probably be my favorite of all his movies, which was like his second one in that offshoot series. But yeah, he just relies completely on once if they say the F word a lot, and once if they have a bad childhood, and once if I put 10 gallons of blood in here, and what happens if they just curse somebody out and they're not PG.
Yeah, not for me. But Sandy Johnson, you were for me. You were a fantastic guest. Mike, let's move on here. We have been lucky enough for years now, not just once, but we have been sent a lot of beers and swag, and you finally got your advent calendar a month later, not because of Dogfish, but because of Georgia and their mail system. But we've kind of had a really good relationship with Dogfish Head over the years, which is really cool for me, because when I got into beer, like craft beer or whatever, it was really fun going in on these hunts to find these Dogfish bottles. And there was this show, Brewmasters, and it was like this whole new world of like trying artisanal things. And you know, when we started the podcast, I said I want to interview Sam. You know, one of the dream guests I had on. Turns out, years later, we have a relationship at the brewery, and we've had Sam on twice. So it's really cool. And they send us different beers to sample and review and check out and cover. So today, we actually got sent a beer. So before we get into our next segment, I thought we would try it now.
All right.
So it is a Grateful Dead themed beer. Now, they have done a lot of music themed beers over the years. They always do something for Record Store Day. They used to have a Grateful Dead beer. And I don't know how far this one strayed off the original recipe, but I remember getting it in a big bottle. But this is called Grateful Dead Juicy Pale Ale. Okay. Now, Mike, are you a fan of the Grateful Dead at all?
I respect them a lot. As musicians, they've done a hell of a job of marketing and getting their fans to be so devoted that they'll go to them anywhere. I don't know if anybody really has a Grateful Dead album. Like, you never hear about what kind of numbers they get for sales or nominated for Grammys. It's just more of the culture that I respect with them. And
yeah, I'm not personally into the Grateful Dead, but kind of along the same lines. I respect them. I have friends I have a friend that particularly is really into Grateful Dead, and we'll go see them with John Mayer playing, and tells me they play different sets every single night. And I think that part's really cool. So, and there's songs I do really like of the Grateful Dead. But this beer is a collaboration Juicy Pale Ale. Took us an exploration of goodness, starting with a generous dose of Kernza grains, which I believe was in when we had Sam and the woman from Patagonia Provisions. That was also in the beer. And granola for a beer bursting with good karma. Enjoy notes of bright citrus and tropical refreshment. So, Mike, let's crack one of these and kind of get into our next bit and kind of chill on this one. So,
yeah. On a side note, as you brought up my advent calendar, took a month to get to. We actually had a small little story with this beer because as Megan, who's delightful, works with us through Dogfish, she shipped out the beer to me, but she put down the Walgreens that I told them to try to ship my advent calendar to as my address. So you can understand, like, as I got the email, this is your tracking, and I see it's delivered, and I can't find it at my house, and my wife didn't pick it up. And all I'm thinking about is, oh my God, I have to get on the podcast and tell another story about how I don't get my beer. And I contacted Megan, and I was being very nice because I'm like, man, I sent her like 7 emails during the advent calendar.
Yeah, you wanted that advent calendar.
Yeah, I was kind of like, out of curiosity, was like something supposed to be signed or something? Because it says it was delivered and it wasn't. And then she's like, oh, hey, isn't this your address? And I'm like, no, it's a Walgreens, but I will go over there to see if I can get it. And then there was another awkward situation in Walgreens because they get FedExes delivered there, but this was delivered by UPS. So I go in there, I'm like, hi, I got a UPS delivery here. And they're like, no, we don't do UPS. I'm like, I understand you don't take UPSs, but there's a very long story I have to tell you where I believe my beer is in your facility right now.
And what he's not telling you is he had the helmet on, his pants were down, and he was spasming nonstop in his mom's
and
bra.
I had my mom's bra in my hand. But luckily enough, they like opened up the container where they put the FedExes, and they're like, "Oh, son of a gun! Yeah, you got a UPS." And they're like, "I don't even think this will scan." I'm like, "Well, I'll show you my driver's license." But needless to say, I had my beer, and I told Megan, "You deserve a raise for needing to deal with myself."
That's hilarious. So here we go. Crack this bad boy open.
A lot of fruity notes in the smell.
Okay. Smells good. All right, take my first sip here. Oh, that's nice. It's not it's not overly hoppy. If anybody is not into like the super hoppy taste, it's kind of I kind of get like a little granola vibe out of it, like a little but it is nice and juicy and pretty easy to drink. I can see this being really delicious at like around a campfire or something outside, maybe some yard work. I'm a fan.
It's very subtle. It gets all the notes they talk about in the description. I think this is the perfect one for those people who almost laugh at IPAs and all, or maybe had IPAs in the way early days where breweries were just like, let me put 12 billion hops in here and see how it comes out.
Yeah.
This is a nice little refreshing, palate cleansing, able to enjoy the notes and say, okay, this is a good opener for an IPA person.
Yeah, a solid beer here. So let's enjoy this beer as we get into this little segment here. Burlew, we put out something the other day. We said, look, we want you to, me and Mike are here. If there's anybody that is here for you, it's me and Mike. Yes, my co-host might be a spasming, pants down, bra holding man in the backyard.
Pants weren't down; they were unbuckled. There's a difference.
Yeah, sure. And the host might be a guy who pees on himself and almost poops himself and does a million different things like that. But we're good guys, and we're able to give people very good life advice. So we reached out to our people, and they put out, if anybody's in search of advice, Mike and Scott will gladly take your comments, your inquiries, whatever it is, and kind of give you what we would do in these scenarios. So, Mike, I didn't even read any of the emails, but we got a ton that flooded in here. So I think we should read some of these and say what we would do and give some of our listeners sound advice.
Yeah, that's why we do this podcast every week, to help all of you. We know you have problems, and our general talkings have to resolve some of these problems out there. So I can only imagine where direct questions are going to go.
General talkings sounds like our podcast in another universe. Hi, this is Sandy Johnson. You're listening to General Talkings
with Mike Burrows
and Scott Wold. Now, oh man. So this segment is called General Talkings Advice here. All right, Mike. My dad is bringing his girlfriend to my mom's funeral, and I'm furious. No one invited her. She didn't know my mom. My mom hated her. Why the F is she coming? She has nothing to do with our actual family. My mom did not like her, and she's so judgmental. I hate this. A day I'm already dreading just because I'm already dreading. I am neutral towards his girlfriend. We don't have a bad relationship. We have no relationship. But I'm telling you, my mother hated her and feel she would see it as a spit in her face that my dad, who cheated on her, brought his girlfriend to her funeral. Mike, what do you think here?
Well, Scott, I know it's kind of hard. I mean, this is a difficult situation. The father has fallen in love with a new person, and we're dealing with the pain of losing a loved one. But I feel we can build something off of this. So here's what I feel would be the perfect situation to make everyone happy. Okay. So before you bring like your mother's coffin up with your pallbearers to be placed in the hole, you're going to have the hole already pre-dug. And as a family, you're going to push the father's new girlfriend in the hole. And what's basically going to happen is you're going to take your current pain and bury it away before you bury your loved one. So you're kind of saying to the world and all, this is what I want. This is what would make me feel better. And this is a good opening to the closure of what you'll have to deal with when you actually put the mother into the coffin. Now we'll pick the girlfriend out of the hole before we put the mother in and bury it. And all, we're not sick people, but I feel this is like almost like a changing of guards when it comes to the pain. You release the pain by getting rid of the person you hate figuratively, and then you put away the loved one into the ground.
Wow. I was going to say this is time to have a serious talk with your dad and say how terrible and disrespectful that was, and almost be willing to cut ties with your dad because of such a terrible decision, and she doesn't belong there, and how upset mom would be and how disrespectful that is in a funeral setting. I wasn't really thinking about pushing the girlfriend into a hole, but
well, it's a dual process hole, Scott. It's the figurative burying and then the real burying. And I feel once you do it a couple times, you get used to it, just like practicing like a trumpet or something, you know?
Oh, okay. I think maybe we'll move on to the next one.
All right.
So thank you, Jen from Utah. Thank you, Jen from Utah.
What's up, my Utes?
All right, Mike. Okay. Let's go to Ellen. Ellen from New York. Okay. My stepdad is planning to kill me. Please help. Please, God, save me. My life is in extreme danger right now. My stepdad is planning to kill me and make it look like an accident, and my mom won't listen to me. I am stuck living with parents due to the fact that I'm still in college and literally have nowhere else to go. Should I tell the police? I'm afraid they will come to my house and you'll find out that I know and retaliate. I've tried reaching out to my sibling, telling her my life is in danger and that I'm scared, and she told me I was manipulating her. Mike?
This is a very difficult situation. I mean, there's lives on the line, and there's questions on whether people will believe you and what's happening and so forth. So I think the only responsible thing to do is to bring a dead hooker into the house. So when you call the cops and say, hey, I think this guy's going to kill me, and they're going to come over. Oh, we don't believe you. Oh, yeah, look at this. And they're like, oh, there's a dead hooker.
Right.
And you're telling me this guy's a suspect. So by rule, he must have killed this person. He was probably going to kill you. So
now, can I raise my hand and ask a question?
I mean, I thought I spelled it all out, but go ahead.
You just said, like, bring a dead hooker into the house. Like,
you don't have one?
As if they're just widely available. Like, are you saying you have to kill the hooker, or you can just go find one?
Well, Ellen's in New York, so I think you got like a 50-50 shot here. Like, sure, you would like to have the pre-dead hooker readily available and all, because it's a lot of work to do those extra steps, if you will. I mean, maybe check with other cities that have prostitutes that readily go missing and all. Maybe you can order a dead hooker from Florida or something like that.
So when her life's in danger, she's Googling cities with high rates of dead hookers.
I mean, not on your phone. That would look suspicious. Or maybe do it on the stepfather's computer so they go, aha, look at his search history.
Yeah.
Build the case for the deadly stepfather by bringing death inside the household.
All right, well, this is a tasty beer.
I mean, don't you agree? Like, how would you have handled it?
I was going to say, I think you should contact the police no matter what and not be afraid of the repercussions, because if it is a true danger, they can provide you with alternative housing for a little bit and sort the situation out and get you out of this dangerous situation. But
I mean, she wants to leave because the dead hooker's in the house. I mean, you don't want to stick afterwards when they take away the stepfather. That'd be gross. They'll be mummified like Gene Hackman's wife.
Yeah, I could see your point, I guess. Let's move to the next
thing
one.
In your throat, you're struggling to get to the next item.
Yeah, I got a little frog in my throat.
Okay.
All right, this is a short one. This is from Steve in Connecticut. Oh no, Stevie. So this must be a female again. My boyfriend thinks the moon landing was fake. That's most of the problem. I think what bothers me more is when I question him, he tried to make me sound like the crazy one. Am I doomed? Now, Mike, you had to talk about the moon landing a lot last week, as far as if it was could possibly be fake in the tinfoil tournament, which we had last week.
And we had the person who, quote unquote, was on the moon for 5 minutes, but he had to get to a grandson's baseball game.
All right, let me. I'll start with this one. Okay.
Oh, okay, that'd be interesting.
I think this person should realize that people are different. That there's a way to get along. If Mike's very different than me, we make a lot of jokes about our differences, and we realize that's what our relationship is. My wife is very different than me. Just make jokes about it. Hey, you think the moon landing's fake over dinner? A friend, laugh and have some conversation about it. Maybe watch a documentary together, like one on it, and then like kind of quiz each other, but make it more into a playful thing. Have a good relationship about it. I don't think it should be a make or break situation because your boyfriend thinks the moon landing's fake. We all believe different things. We all side with people. We're in a society where people don't get along over politics and things like that, over styles of beer, like this delicious, hazy pale ale here, juicy pale ale. but that's what I would do. I wouldn't ruin my relationship over this. Mike, how about you?
Well, so here's the thing, Scott. I belong to a moon religion, and what he just said was sacrilege. So what my moon cult does is we would grab the person, tape them to a lawn chair, and put a bunch of helium balloons on the lawn chair, and go say hi to our god as we release them into the sky. And if our moon god brings it back, then I know he understood that the moon was real, and he was just very foolish, and he will join our moon cult. If he doesn't come back, then clearly he was not one of the chosen ones to go to the moon heaven one day.
Now, how did you necessarily get into a moon religion?
I was just side conversation I had with somebody one day. We were talking about how the commanders were doing, and then one thing led to another, and then I was in the moon cult. I was in there getting baptized by the moon people for a good 4 months. It's a very long process. Luckily, they let me out to do the podcast, so you didn't miss me at all. But and then once they said you were true one of the moonish, I went on and told everyone about the truth of the moon.
Wow. It's interesting, like our advice is so different. I think that's why people come to this show for, the different opinions. I think mine might be a little bit more reasonable, but maybe that's just me.
Scott, I get it. Some people doesn't have lawn furniture readily available to send to their moon gods, but you just have to prep for these situations. It's not that hard. It's like getting a carbon monoxide detector. Same thing. You can get them at Home Depot, all your needs.
Okay. Let's do maybe 2 more before we get out of here. We could always come back to some of the emails later on in a different episode. If we have any listeners after people hear you. But okay. I look horrible in selfies. This is from Jane in Massachusetts. Sorry, I'm very confused right now. Hear me out. When I look in the mirror, I mostly think I look decent or even good. Same when I use my phone's camera instead of the selfie mode. Basically, same as in the mirror. Fine. But whenever I take a picture, I notice my face is just unbelievably asymmetrical. Same for my hair. And I literally look like a mess. I don't know how there is such a massive difference between just being in selfie mode and actually taking a selfie. How can I look good in the preview but horrible in the photo? I'd be really happy for some advice. I'll go first, I guess, again.
No, that's sweet of you. Go ahead.
I would tell her, look, the phone's cameras are not they're not real life. They don't capture everything perfectly. They're weird angles. Not only that, you should get away from taking pictures of yourself and worrying about how you look on social media and things like that. And, what really matters, not to be too, sappy here. What really matters is what you see when you look in the mirror and when someone else looks at you, how you feel and how your body feels. So and we're so influenced by people on social media and the perfect bodies and the edited photos and the big butts and the huge boobs and the perfect chins and the beards and the beautiful hair, but it's all fake. It's not what real people look like. I'm sure you're beautiful, Jane, and I think someone else will tell you that if you just worry less about what people think. So that's my advice.
I guess that's one take to look at the situation, Scott.
Right.
Mine's a little more detailed than yours. Do you feel I should elaborate with mine, or?
I think you should chime in here on what yours is.
Well, see, here's the thing. The Mirrorverse is where all the beautiful people live. So when you take a selfie, you really are that ugly when you say that. The Mirrorverse is where all the beautiful people go, and hopefully one day they will allow you to come in. I've tried to enter the Mirrorverse plenty of times. Unfortunately, the door wasn't open and I've smashed my face in and cut it up a few times. But I do know that's where the most gorgeous living beings are, and it's just a matter of figuring out how to get in there. If you truly think you are one of them, I assure you, you should be able to just smash your face into glass and they'll bring you into there if you're the chosen one.
So let me go through this. You believe that the moon landing was fake.
Mm-hmm.
You have a moon religion.
Yeah. It's complicated.
That there's a mirrorverse where the beautiful people live.
Yeah, there's a lot of places out there, Scott. I mean, there's a North Dakota and a South Dakota. There's not just one Dakota. So don't be questioning why I'm bringing up two different beautiful universes.
Okay, I'm not questioning. I'm just asking your take on your advice. Don't get all uppity with me.
I mean, you didn't. The way you presented to me, that's the ugly phone, Scott. I'm not looking at the beautiful mirrorverse, Scott.
Yeah,
I gotta bring you down a notch. I'm sorry.
All right, let's do one more, Mike. I guess. I'm gonna go with our friend from. Let's go with our friend from Missouri, who needs relationship advice, Mike. This is going to be a little long, so just bear with me. Blah, 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 blah. My boyfriend and I have been together for almost a year due to financial and family issues. I moved in with him. He lives with Kate, who's 42, and Steve, who's 28, who's dating Kate, Marley, who's Katie's younger girl, Chris, who's Katie's son, Jane, who's Katie's oldest. I have POTS syndrome, ADHD, CPTSD. Kate has autism and ADHD. Kate was more or less adopted by Katie due to family issue. He got into drugs shortly after moving in with her. His mother doesn't approve of Katie or the relationship he had with her daughter. They dated years ago, and she moved out in her teens due to Katie and her fighting. He's been living with them for about 2 years after spending around a year and a half couch surfing and sleeping on park benches. I moved into his room, so it didn't raise his rent or anything. After a little, Steve started to pick on me, and call me names and shit. It got to the point I didn't feel comfortable and safe to leave his room, and then they started calling me lazy. Katie isn't even really around between work and going out. Her kids basically have free roam in the house. Marley and I started hanging out in Kate's room after a while because she's always left out of everything. I had to quit my job due to some days. My POTS disease is debilitating. So finding work I can do is quite difficult, but no one is hiring. After a little, Kate would tell me he's going out for a couple minutes and not come back until hours later, normally drinking, then pass out drunk. He lost his job due to her boss firing him. We applied for EI and paid the rent and Katie's food payments with it, but that didn't leave a lot for money or food. So my dad would help whenever he could or when we asked. Still, he was going out, the only one of his friends that still have a license due to DUI. So they message him and ask if he wants to go out, and he's always stuck there until they're ready to leave. So he doesn't come back until early morning. Between job hunting and being Katie's maid, there wasn't a lot of time for the two of us. Wow. Really? And that goes on for another 6 paragraphs, by the way. So what would you tell our friend here?
You're cool.
Okay. Yeah, you're good. Everything's good. No changes.
I mean that was 12 for me. So I don't. What's the complaint?
What do you mean it was 12 for you?
That sounds like life in the Burlew house at age 12. I think all the letters were matching up for what you were saying. I mean, and the names are different. I mean, it'd be silly if they were all the same thing, but. Yeah. Probably if you went through the next 6 paragraphs, I'd hear the problem. But I mean, I'd say go with the course there, Katie.
I was going to say, you got to get yourself out of that situation. Your dad's trying to help. Maybe go back with your family and reassess your life's choices and get out of that, and then you'll be able to see if that's really a relationship that you want to be in.
It sounds like work, when things are just right now. I mean, There's a perfect combination of letters and scenarios that are going inside that household. I mean, just all the checks and balances are there. I don't know why you wanted to rock the boat, Scott.
Oh, we got one more late edition. I might as well read it.
Okay.
It's from Mikey's nephew. They didn't put a name. Mikey's nephew.
All right.
I go to visit my grandpa, and sometimes I go to the backyard and see my uncle with his pants unbuttoned, waving my grandma's bras in the air. Sometimes he likes to steal my grandpa's bike. But he does wear a helmet. It kind of creeps me out, and he keeps telling me to listen to his radio show. Weird.
Listen, did he factor in how much dog poop had to be collected in the backyard?
He did say something. He was slithering like a snake, like,
Well, that sounds like a cool person. I don't know what to tell you. I mean, just go inside, watch Supermarket Sweep with him, and, just remember, when you see those bonuses, you got to get it back in time for the buzzer. You don't want to be leaving that $250 super bonus out there, okay?
My advice would be cuddle up with your uncle, grab one of grandma's bras, and you two could just have a good time watching TV. So that is our advice segment. We'll come back to that, Mike. I think there's a lot of good advice that we gave listeners. We're glad to help out our audience. Dogfish, I want to thank you for this delicious beer. Mike, anything to promote before we get out of here?
Not really promote, but I'll send some congratulations. Congrats to Jordan Hatmaker. She just gave birth to a baby girl a few weeks back. Jordan Hatmaker was, I believe, episode 429. She parachuted out of a plane. Things didn't go as planned. She fell to the earth 80 miles an hour to the ground. Survived to tell the story. Congratulations. Going from nearly dying to being a mother. Congratulations to her. Also, shout out to BJ McLeod and Live Fast Racing. With this race coming up in Phoenix, they are entering Catherine Legg, who is making her Cup debut. This is the first female driver to race in NASCAR Cup Series since 2018. So really cool what's happening there. So shout out to Jordan for babies and BJ for cars.
And does she have both legs, or she's just known as Catherine the Leg?
She has both legs. Yes, she's an accomplished driver. She
gotcha.
drove a few Indy 500s. She drives an ARCA, and she has two legs.
Oh, I didn't know she was just like Catherine the Leg, and that was her thing. Like she's a one-legged driver. Anyway, I will promote a comedy show coming up on the 15th. I'm at the Rhino Comedy Club in Suffern, New York. I haven't been there in a very long time. I was only at their last location. So coming out, I know my good friend Jackie Byrne is also on the show. So it's supposed to be a great club. So coming out on Saturday the 15th in Suffern, New York. But that's it, guys. We have a lot of fun guests coming up, from government hackers to famous musicians. So there's a lot of good stuff coming up. Thank you, Sandy Johnson, for coming on the show. Guys, life is funny. Laugh at it. Keep the wind.
And remember to stretch before you pick up your mom's bras and poop.